Hello and welcome back to the 7 Days, the World Ends With You podcast here at Otaku Oasis. This is episode 6, and we are reviewing episode 7 of The World Ends With You, the animation. I am one of your hosts, Ewi Watkin, but you can call me Eric.
And I am your co-host, Joshua.
Yep. And so this episode starts on day 6 of week 2. Yeah.
Yes.
And your initial thoughts on kind of how it starts, because it starts with Neku confronting Josh again. They kind of like this confrontation.
I don't know. It just feels kind of. There's a lot of things in like this episode where it's like, okay, I get what it's going for, but it's also a lot of stuff that we've seen before, and thus, I just there isn't a lot of like new ideas when they start repeating a few things and whatnot.
Yeah, so that's definitely one thing. Even replaying the game, I kind of noticed is that the show does a lot more than the game did. But even the game kind of repeats the same conversation of like, Josh, why did you kill me? um,
I mean, it's a fair question, but I mean, does it need to be repeated that many times?
yeah, but we did get an interesting bit. I feel like where we see Neku confront Josh and was like, "No, you don't care about this game. You never cared about this game because you're alive. So all of us were dead, and we're fighting for a second chance. If you lose a mission, nothing happens to you." And we learned that no, Josh is under the same stakes. If he dies in the game, he dies in real life.
Yeah, I do think that was at least like the one good thing that was like that added something was just there's stakes for Joshua as well.
Yeah. Um, which I mean, it's been so long since I played the game. I don't remember my first reaction to that. Um, but like, was that something you questioned once you learned he was alive? Was that something you expected, or what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I did kind of question it. Just like I didn't really like think about it too much, just because the plot keeps on going. But
Yeah.
but no, like it definitely like it at least seemed like Joshua was maybe a little bit different, just in the way that they like set it up earlier. So it was interesting to learn that he basically has the same rules applied to him as the regular players.
Yeah. That's the thing is like he talked about it a little bit in day 5, and we didn't fully understand. But he said like the only thing I don't have is a player pin. Besides that, I am fully bound to all the same rules. We have a valid pact, and so here just kind of more of that confirmation of like, yeah, he is essentially just like all the other players, except for his reason for being there.
Mm-hmm.
It was his choice to risk his life.
Yep. Instead of I mean, I guess it is technically their choice in the underground as well, but they have to sacrifice something in order to join.
Actually, that was one thing. Now that I think about, I don't think we ever even hear about Josh having an entry fee, which he's
Yeah,
not a valid player. So I guess that would make sense. He wouldn't have an entry. I
yeah.
never thought about it.
I'm like he isn't exactly a valid player, so it makes sense that he doesn't have an entrance fee.
Yeah, that's weird. I never even thought about that. Okay, food food for thought.
Stuff that I picked up that you didn't.
Yeah. Um, and then we get kind of a cut to a meeting with um Konishi and Kitaniji. Uh, his thing. I play the video games. The video games use the nicknames. The show does not. I'm gonna use the nicknames. It's Iron Maiden and Shades.
You should probably say which name refers to which, just to be safe.
Oh yeah, Konishi is the Iron Maiden, and Kitaniji is Shades. And Kitaniji is the one that we see in the White Room, and the Konishi Iron Maiden is the. I don't know how you describe her dress. Is it a maid dress? I don't know.
I'd say it's more of like a secretary uniform type of
So
thing.
yeah, secretary in uniform. Um, yeah, she's the blonde Reaper with the secretary uniform, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very business suit like.
it's something. uh, what were your thoughts on that meeting? Because it was a recap of Minamimoto being the one behind the taboo, and Neku being a special player second time around.
I mean, not much to say other than that they finally just said that Minamimoto is the culprit.
Yeah. So I actually got mixed up. I thought this happened day 4, and then I replayed the game again, and it was on day 6. That said, the meeting that they show happening on day 4 didn't take place, and like I don't know how to explain it. Konishi just took it more seriously. She didn't brush off Yuzuki in Korea. Um, but yeah, this pretty much took place how it did in the game. There was only 2 things really of note that I had at least. One was she talked about the invalid player and asked if she was allowed to deal with the invalid player or if um, Shades had to ask the composer. And Shades was like, "Go ahead, deal with the invalid player. That's within your purview." And then they bring up uh, Neku on the second time around as being long lived, and in the game, Shades just kind of like brushed it off, like, "Oh yeah, he is kind of unique." But he said something really interesting in the show, and I don't know if you caught it.
I don't think I did. What was like approximately the line?
So like his very last line in that was just, "So the composer's on a mischievous streak."
Oh yeah. I did know. I did actually like write a note for that. I just didn't remember the line.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I want to know what your thoughts are because I was not in the game.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like an interesting comment. I don't know what it's like alluding to, but like it was definitely a comment that I definitely like. At least first time viewing, I definitely wrote it down. I must have missed it the
Yeah,
second time.
yeah, and that's my thing is like I heard them like, and that's not something in the game. Like they do bring up the composer in that conversation, but for as much as the composer brought up, it's only brought up in like we have to deal out punishments to Minamimoto. We have to deal out punishment to the invalid player. Do we have to talk to the composer for that? And Shade says, for Minamimoto, we have to talk to the composer. For the invalid player, you can go deal with him.
Yeah,
It's like this weird comment of like, oh well, the composer's on a mischievous streak. Where it's like, what are you ref? What?
yeah. I'm like, I wonder if that says anything about like the composer's character as a person, but I guess we'll
Yeah,
see,
yeah, we
or
still
at
don't
least
know
I'll
who it
see.
is.
You know what he's like.
Yeah, or she.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know.
I'm throwing you off the scent. Um,
Uh, well, I mean, it's also just like you can't exactly assume one way or another.
at the end of
At least
this,
since we don't. At least since we don't know the well, I don't know the identity yet.
do you think it's someone we've met or someone we have not met yet?
I don't think it's someone we've met. I just like the way that they've at least been like building it up. It sounds like someone entirely new.
Okay. Um. What else did I have? I think that's it for that conversation.
And then they start the mission basically for day 6.
Yeah. So a boss comes out in. Well, yeah. So we talk about what the mission is. The mission was what 60 minutes to defeat the boss of 0 plus 5, and then 2.2 whatever
This on the root of the square root, like the
of
square root
5.
of 2.2 some more decimal numbers
Yeah, it was a
afterwards.
square root of 5. Yeah,
Yeah.
the square root of 5. And basically that was saying about 5. There's 2 bosses, one at 0, one at 5,
Which were
and
based on locations.
yeah. So the 0 was the Scramble Crossing, and 5 was Utagawa, and there's 6 places on the Route 5. So,
hmm
um, so we get the boss fight of 0, Scramble Crossing, and any general thoughts on that fight?
Like the first one, um, yeah, I don't really like remember the first like fight. It was kind of small, honestly,
Yeah, it
wasn't
wasn't
it?
a, yeah, it was not a big fight. My whole
Like
thing
I remember
was
the two bears at the end more than like the rest of that entire
yeah.
thing.
No, I expect that. My whole thing really, I guess this is something I shouldn't expect you to know or think about. But in the game, as they're leaving the scramble, they get jumped by a noise, um, and then the noise somehow gets erased, and they don't know who or how or what erased that noise that jumps them.
Hmm.
Um, and then actually, when you get to AMX, you see two generic Reapers. Um, they use the red and the black Reapers as just kind of generic, like, yeah, these are
Fodder
worker Reapers.
Reapers.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, these are the generic ones. Like in the
Because we
band
do
Death
see like
March.
a few of them like get killed off basically on their
Yeah.
way to on their way to Utagawa.
Yeah. So like in the Death March band, 777, we do see the red one being Tenho and the black hoodie, red hoodie, black hoodie is what I'm talking about. The red hoodie is Tenho and the black hoodie is BJ. That doesn't mean that every time you see the red and black, that's Tenho and BJ. But that's what I call them because it was a funny scene. And it's the only names we get for them.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. So we see Tenho um, getting attacked, and Neku and Josh are trying to think about helping him. But then they get jumped anyways and have to fight some noise. And Tenho gets erased.
Mm.
And then we get to the next scene. And again, there's actually a decision in the game where we see Soda now being attacked by noise and now gets erased.
Mm.
And in this one, the choice you don't actually get to make a choice. No matter what you choose, Neku will always jump in to save Sota, and you have to fight noise there.
Which is kind of different in how they portrayed in the anime, in that now in Sota like barely defeated the noise on their own,
Yeah,
but now basically like
that's exhaustion.
was definitely had definitely taken a lot of damage, and then Sota was had a delayed reaction. I'm not entirely sure how that
Yeah.
works, but
So in the game, they explained it a little bit back when Rhyme died, but essentially, when a partner dies, you have, I think they say like 12 minutes to live. That said,
mm,
Sota dies almost instantly, so they obviously are
yeah, I'm
not
like he
taking
dies
that.
like about 5 to 10 seconds later. So
Which, based off
I mean,
this episode, could be 10 hours. We don't know.
well, well, you said like 12 minutes, didn't you? Did you
I,
mean
I'm jo-
hours?
I'm joking about the future bear fight.
Well, no. If we're talking about the bear fight, the time at least matches up because it would be 1 second for every minute.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, that's fair. But Soda also says something interesting to me. Um, and here, well, because Soda had more time to talk. You talk to him before you help him, and then you talk after you help him. Uh, and here they kind of just condense that down. But like he was more willing and accepting at that point to go. He was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Yep, I realize this is my fate. I have to go." Uh, but like I hope you three make it back. Like you, Josh, and your old partner.
Mm-hmm.
And here he like spends like his dying breath like barely squeezing out the words.
Yeah, but I mean, I assume it's about the same message to Neku, basically.
Yeah. Again, it's like they're trying to make it more tragic, but I also like the idea that you still had to fight to save him, even though you knew he was going to die.
Mm.
Because I feel like that kind of said something.
Yeah.
Um, there was also a conversation that Josh and Neku have right as Sota dies, like right after. Do you have any thoughts on that conversation?
On what in particular about it?
The well, in the game, Josh is pushing kind of, and Josh does this a lot. Josh really kind of pushes Neku, and so like he kind of reiterates what Neku's old world view is to kind of like test Neku and see where he is.
Oh, like in reference to that, because
Yeah, so like
they kind of did that in the anime too, didn't they?
a little bit, but it wasn't as clear. But like Josh went full on like, oh, why do you care? Like, what about them? They're just strangers to you. And then Neku introspectively and then out loud has that conversation of like, yeah, they're strangers. Everyone's strangers, not just players, but everyone on the street. But
I think it's better shown in like the next scene where Neku goes to like save the Reapers.
no, okay, I have a funny thing about that scene. Um, but we'll get to that. My thing was there's an important line in the game that like comes back later that they didn't say. But Josh has a line. I might be butchering it, but I try to write it down verbatim. But it was after Neku talks about how his world grew. Josh says, "Maybe by letting people in, we find new ways to be ourselves." Um, Something like that. And so I felt like that line being missing is kind of weird because that reoccurs again and is also kind of an important touchstone for Neku.
I mean, but it's kind of been brought up before, hasn't it?
I mean, kind of. It's just that that specific line does become important. That whole idea of letting new people in, you find because the thing that's been not brought up so far is just that like expand your world by talking to new people and learning about other people. But this is more of not just opening up to people, but also changing, but changing and being true to yourself at the same time.
Hmm.
Um, but in here, Josh just kind of says, "Oh, you've changed," and then they move on.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, you can still kind of see how Neku has changed, like even him like saving the Reapers.
So that's another thing. Again, you have a choice, and this time the choice does matter. You can just leave them. Um,
I assume it has to do with something that happens later in the episode that helps Neku out.
Actually, no, not at all. Um,
Oh no.
no. But when you do choose to help them, this is all Neku says is Josh is like, the Reapers, do we still help them? And if you hit yes, Neku says, yeah, let's help them. They'll hate it. That's all he says. It's like, I love how vindictive Neku is in that one sentence. Let's help them. They'll hate it. It's such a funny scene to me, at least. I guess I'm the only one.
I have to wonder how much that maybe the game was changed in translation potentially.
That's a good question. I actually don't know.
Because like it could potentially like because the way that Neku may have been portrayed in the Japanese might be closer to how the anime is portraying it potentially, and that's maybe just conjecture on my part, but just it may potentially be why you're feeling such a disconnect between Neku's character.
That could be. I don't know. I have no clue how much has changed. I guess I am assuming that the American version of the game is faithful to the Japanese version of the game. But I guess, yeah, you're right. They could have changed him in translation.
Like maybe not like a lot, but they may have made him just a little bit more edgy in some lines potentially.
I don't know. I like that line of, yeah, let's do it.
Well,
They'll hate it.
I mean, I'm not saying it like that it's bad. It definitely fits, at least from what I understand of the game.
Yeah.
Like at least here, but yeah, I was just something that just came up because like the way that he goes about saving the Reapers is more of like I don't care. It's like I want to help people in the anime, basically.
Yeah. That seems like in the game, he has no problem helping the Reapers, but he does it mainly because he knows it bugs them.
Yeah.
And then if you say no in the game, they just buzz off. They're just like, okay, yeah, we can't win this fight. Let's leave.
I see.
Yeah. But anything about Yuzuki's reaction?
I mean, other than I think the reaction that pretty much like you said that like that they hated like is kind of true. At least Yuzuki is, but Kamiya is more like, it's fine, you know.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing is that Korea
But
in the
Kamiya is
game.
pretty chill.
Yeah, well, in Korea in the game, he kind of jokes about it. It's like, come on, you have to thank someone that helps you. To Yuzuki, it's like, come on, you can at least say thanks. And then like he like apologizes for it, and it's like, don't worry, she'll get over it, and then leaves. But here he gives like kind of a ominous warning. Um,
Hmm.
that wasn't in the game, so I
Yeah.
kind of like the more jokey way he handled it in the game.
And then we get to the two bears fight.
Yeah, so we get to boss 5,
The
or the boss of 5.
30-second boss fight that takes 30 minutes.
So it's not a horrible fight. It probably was like a minute fight.
Yeah, but I mean, still, like the animation was fine. It's more of just they say going into the fight, oh yeah, we have 30 minutes and we'll be fine. But then by the end of it, we're like, oh, we just barely made it.
Yeah. So I didn't notice this the first time watching. I noticed it the second time watching that the timer read 0. Oh no, it's read 1 minute 5 seconds. I was like, wait, this 1 minute fight took 30 minutes?
Yeah, this one like about a minute fight takes about nearly the entire 30 minutes. I'm like, wow, if Dragon Ball went at this pace, it would have been done in like a second.
Well, Dragon Ball goes in the opposite direction. It will stretch like 30 seconds into like 10 episodes. This,
Well, to be fair, Dragon Ball had more of a thing when it was being adapted that since the animation studio was so close to Dragon Ball, it's like the same thing that they do with One Piece. They'll drag it scenes out in order just to make like the time limit but still be enough that they're just behind the manga, basically, that they aren't like one for one with the manga chapter.
wow, that's amazing. Luckily, all the
Yeah.
source material is out for this show.
Yeah, it's like unlike One Piece, which will sometimes only adapt half a chapter an episode.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
So
that's like adapting like 9 pages for about 20 minutes.
yeah. This is a question probably for a later episode entirely. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. But I really do wonder if we can expect to see a Neo the World Ends with You anime once the game comes out.
I mean, I'd say we'd have to probably wait and see. But I definitely know that this anime was definitely meant to catch people up so that they'd be interested in getting into Neo without being like, oh, but I need to know this other game that came prior. So,
That's probably true. And I still believe that because this has retcon things already. So I'm kind of looking at this like this is probably the one that's canon to Neo.
yeah, it'll probably be what's a bit closer to what Neo may be aiming for. So,
Yeah. Um, oh, I actually forgot about this. Earlier on, Josh explains two types of noise.
yeah, the what was it? The one was taboo
Strays.
noise straight. I was thinking loose for some reason, but I'm like, no, that's not it.
Yeah, so there's stray noise, um, where it's negative emotions that are ambient around people, and the Reapers can control them. But in the game, those were the two types of noise. It was
Mm-hmm.
it was the strays, the negative emotions that are naturally around people, and the second type being the ones the Reapers control. Taboo were a third type of noise that no one ever thought of, like knew of before.
Mm.
So I find it interesting that they kind of condensed the strays down to one type. Um,
Because what was the other type? Sorry, I missed it.
yeah, so the two types in the game are the strays, the negative emotions that are just naturally occurring,
Mm-hmm.
and the ones that Reapers can control, create, destroy, whatever. Um, and I don't remember at what point we learn it. This might even be a secret report thing, but we learn how, at some point, how Reapers create noise, and they have their own way of creating them. That's not negative emotion.
I
I'm not
see.
going to spoil how because I don't remember what point they teach you that.
We can probably go a bit deeper into this when we cover the super reports after this anime is all over.
Yeah, well, I think that's something they do teach you in the base game. I just don't remember when. Um,
We can just cover it in the super reports if it's like part of that. So
yeah. Um, but yeah, that was going back a bit. So then we got right after the bear fight, Minamimoto shows up.
yep, basically he's saying that he will eliminate them at the speed of light.
Yeah. So remember earlier when I was talking about how as they were leaving Scramble Crossing, they were jumped by a noise that mysteriously got erased.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we learn Minamimoto is the one that erased that noise.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So when he's because I think he even says it in the show that he doesn't want to see those two get erased until they can replicate.
Yeah,
Yeah, that line made a lot
because
more
he
sense in
wants
the
to fight
game.
them.
Yeah, that line made a lot more sense in the game when he actually saved them from being erased.
I see.
Yeah, that was basically the only real
Okay, that
difference.
that that definitely puts a lot more context around him saying that this was interesting and whatnot.
Yeah.
Or I should say set to interesting because that's how he always says it.
Okay, this is jumping ahead, but at one point he says Terra slow, and I'm like, I don't think he's ever said Terra slow. It's always Zeta slow.
Hmm.
And he only
I didn't
says Terra
notice.
once. He only says it
Yeah,
once.
yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, I was
I,
like,
I I
what?
didn't even catch it. I just yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then we get to day 7,
Yes.
and they condense that conversation down a lot, and I understand why. Because the opening conversation was once again Neku being like, "Why did you kill me?" and Josh trying to dodge the question, and then uh, Neku
Pretty
just
much
telling
just the
Josh to
point
drop
of
it.
it. The point of it this time is that basically Neku is asking Joshua to reveal everything once this is all finally over.
Yeah, but my whole thing was like, in the game we have the context to like, what is it that Joshua is going to answer? He's going to answer about killing Neku, and in here, what do we get? Just tell me everything. Where it's like, what does Neku mean by everything?
Yeah, I feel like everything in this, like at least if it was only about like just Neku's death in the game, I was in the anime. I was like, does Joshua know more than he's showing?
Well, I
I'm
mean,
like, I
we do
don't
have
think
more
it's out of the realm
mysteries.
of possibility, but
We still don't fully understand why he was looking for the Shibuya River.
uh huh. And we
Or
still don't know why he wants to like. Well, I mean, we know why he wants to meet the composer, but like,
yeah, that's my thing. So like, they'll tell me everything could be a lot more about what his plans were.
yeah.
Um, and then also this mission was interesting because in the game they comment on this mission looking weird from the start.
Mm.
They're like, "Huh, that's weird. No weird numbers or anything." And then as they get closer, they get another text saying, "P.S. Don't forget cow and mouse." Um, and in
Yeah,
the
they don't.
game,
They definitely don't comment on anything like that in the anime, nor is the PS message there.
yeah. And so the PS message, don't forget to bring cow plus mouse. Uh, I understand why they couldn't really do that in the show because that has to do with the brands. Because the brands are all based on the zodiac signs,
Mm.
and uh, when you get to what in the game is called Pork City, but what they have now named to the actual building, Pork City,
Hmm.
uh, you can only use specific pins on specific floors of the building.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and so each pin is based off the brand. Uh, I forget the brand names, and I know people are going to give me crap for getting the brand names. I use unbranded pins. uh, Mainly because of Pork City, I use unbranded pins every time I play. Um, so I'm terrible at the brand names, but I've never used the brand. Um, but yeah, and it's also funny because, well, I guess we should talk about what happens when they actually get to Pork City or Merc City.
Hmm.
That's gonna throw me off.
Yeah, so they enter the staircase as that's the only way through the building, and they are fighting noise in the dark, which they only recognize because B notifies them.
Yep.
And then eventually, Korea and Yuzuki turn on the lights.
You pay the debt from
Yep.
the previous day.
Is that done like normally, even if you don't save them,
No,
or
they don't show up in that day at all.
oh, they don't?
No, that so all of this was new. Um,
I see.
yeah. So in the game, how it worked was you on floor one and you see Tenho and BJ, and they're like just standing around, and they're like, "Hey, what are players doing here?" And Neku just like, "We're here for the mission. We were told to fight the game master at top of Pork City." And Tenho and BJ are like, "Did you hear anything about a mission? Like we were just told to go to this place by Minamimoto like 7 days ago. Um, but I guess if you got a mission,
Go
fight the
ahead.
noise. Like just fight these three noise, and then we'll let you up. And you have to use the
Ah,
cow pins to fight the first floor. You go up to the second floor, same thing. Tenho and BJ are just standing there, and they're like, "Do you know anything about a mission?" They're like, "They're here, so three noise. Fight them with the mouse pins."
so they're like, well, if you got a text message for a message, there must for like for a mission, there must be a mission. So I guess we'll just let you through. I guess.
Yeah, so like Beat's not here, Yuzuki and Korea are not here. You're literally just like no one knows what's going on. Much of
Okay, so
incompetence.
this entire scene is like was was something you weren't expecting either.
No. Um, Also, wasn't expecting this. The spider noise were new, and they were in the opening to the anime. But I was like, okay, that's an opening stylistic choice. We'll see if they pop up. They did.
I
So
mean, they
we
popped
kept the
up
noise.
earlier in the episode too.
The spider ones.
Yeah.
I think you're thinking of the crabs.
Oh, maybe it was
Yeah, the crabs were there.
the
The
legs
spiders were brand new.
noise.
Um, so if we see the spider noise appear in Neo the Ones with You, we know that's a connected universe.
Why are these like entirely new noises that were created for the show?
Yeah, that's a new type of. Pretty sure I've not killed every single noise, but I've killed like 99% of them, and I feel like I would have noticed a red or a spider noise.
Hmm.
So I'm not 100% positive, but I'm about like 95% positive that the spider noise are new.
Okay. And so they get to the like they get moving to the top because the whole imaginary number vertex, I believe they called it.
Yeah, so it's the imaginary number plane. Um, in the game, even though you're in Merc City or Pork City or whatever they're gonna call it, uh, when you go in to fight the noise, you're in black and white versions of different locations. It's like you'd be fighting like in a black and white version of Shibuya Crossing or the 104 building or Udagawa as you're doing these fights.
Oh, I see. Got it.
And in the game, or in the show, I mean, rather, they
It
just
was
kind of
just the
show it.
staircase.
There's just a
It was
staircase with like weird wobbly effects.
yeah.
I actually was
Um,
impressed that they brought up the imaginary number plane though. I didn't think they were going to. But yeah, that's where the noise are. They exist.
Well, I mean, it's probably because that's where the fight between Neku and Joshua versus Minamimoto takes place. But we'll get to that pretty soon.
Well, I'm not going to go too far into it. The imaginary number plane will come back up in Sacred Reports.
Oh, okay. But yeah, anyway, so they get to the top. Neku returns the bell pendant to B.
This happened on day 4 normally.
Yeah. But there was one comment that I believe it was Yuzuki brought up on the staircase about B, like what is Beats like trying to do? Like, what was his mission from Shades other than what he's been doing, which has been saving Neku and Joshua from noise?
I'm actually not entirely sure myself. I don't think about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just found that interesting, and I'm wondering if it'll play into something with Beat in the future. Just because I feel like it's like his intentions this week have been kind of weird. Like he's both been helping them, but also antagonizing them at the same time. So like, I'm not entirely sure what his true intentions are.
In the game, he was kind of the same and kind of different. He never was actually helpful. Anytime he showed up when nothing was going on. And he would fight you, but like you never, like he would just like be like, you're too weak. It's not fun to fight you, and he would just leave. So he would just rough you up a little bit, but he wasn't out for blood.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the thing. It's like I think they're trying to show that side to it, of like, oh, he's not actually out, kill you, but it's like, well, in the game it made more sense. I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, it definitely sounds like something was up with Beat. They just showed it in a different way, I think.
Yeah. Also, in the game, when he takes the pendant back, he's just like, don't expect a thank you for this. Like, but in here, he specifically says, like, I owe you one for that. And it's like, wait, that's the exact opposite of what he said in the game.
Yeah, I mean, again, it maybe could be translation, but then again, I don't know. I would have to be able to A, fully read Japanese, and B, play the Japanese version of the game.
Dude, I've always wanted to import the Japanese version of the DS.
I mean, game. You wouldn't even need, like, I mean, if you just import the Japanese version of the game, you could just play it on the regular DS.
No, I know that. I've never done it. I've always wanted to.
Oh, I mean, something for the future, I guess.
Yeah. I'm sure it's much more 20. Actually, I don't know if it's more than $20. Look it up later.
Yeah. Anyways, and so we get to Neku and Joshua confronting Minamimoto on the roof, to which Minamimoto is surprised because he's not expecting them there.
Reasons we'll learn later.
Well, because he says, well, it's more if he mentions at this point, like, there was a specific place that he wanted to do it because, and then they show us the flashback of Minamimoto being the one who actually killed Neku.
Yep. And you thought Josh was the killer.
I mean, they do very well in building it up that way, but I mean, JRPG twists.
Yeah, the game does a good job doing that too, where they make you believe it. Again, like the game, and I think actually I had this realization because I was like constantly just like, man, Josh is like very weirdly protective over Neku, and he wasn't that way in the game. But then I remembered, like, oh yeah, in the game they don't fight in the same space.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yeah, that's why Josh doesn't protect Neku because he physically can't.
Yeah.
But in the show, like, for as prickly as Josh can be, he still constantly is like jumping in front of stuff to save Neku.
Yeah, like you can definitely like see him jump in at times just to help Neku out when like if he didn't care, he wouldn't have.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I always had the thought of like, man, why are they showing Josh so overprotective of Neku? And I'm like, oh yeah, the game couldn't show him being that protective.
Hmm.
Um,
And so then we get into the fight for which they start falling into like the realm of the fight, for which
uh,
it
much
what
cooler than in the game. In the
what do you
game, you just
mean?
fight on the rooftop.
Oh, I
Much
see.
cooler than in the game.
Yeah, but I I find it well interesting little thing just about like the arena before like I it's like you can see it like one of the little shards like a memory of like Shiki floating around.
Oh, there's several of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
just found it like interesting that those were like little things that they put in there. But I just wanted to make like a quick comment that when they were falling, I'm like, what is this? Dream drop distance?
okay, so I want to talk about Dream Drop Distance back in episode. I guess it was last episode. It's last episode I want to talk about Dream Drop Distance, and I totally forgot. And I don't know if we can go back to that now, or if now's not a great time for that.
I mean, you know what? Let's just segue into it since I made the joke.
Yeah. So okay, so this is going back to the reveal that Joshua is alive. Um, and my whole thought is that if you've played Dream Drop Distance, Joshua is the odd one out. Because it looks like it's the story of it is kind of taking place during week one. Neku and Shiki are partners, Beat 'em I'm partners. Josh wasn't in week one, but they had to find a way to fit him in because he's a main character to the game, one of the main characters to the game. And so they just made him weird, right? Like I'm not the only one
Mm-hmm.
who thinks this.
Yeah, yeah. No, he's definitely he definitely feels like way different from the rest of the cast in Dream Drop Distance.
Yeah, and he's also very different than how he is in the World Ends with You. Because in the World Ends with You, he's kind of just an obnoxious prick, and
Yeah, and this one he's more of like I don't know. It's like he's like I see all on this world.
yeah, he's controlling of them, and
It's
like he
almost
can
like he
control the
was more of
dreams.
a yeah. Well, not to mention, it just seemed like he had a bit more control of the what was it the Dream Eaters.
Did he? Well, yeah, he said mentioned that he never like nightmares didn't go after him, even though he had plenty of dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot about that line. Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, it's
And
just
so, and then one point he gets angel wings.
yeah that too. I'm like that was really weird.
And my best guess as to why they portray him this way is because while he was alive, he could see the game. So it makes sense somewhat of him being an outside observer to it. And like, yeah, he's not part of the game, but he can see them and can, I guess,
Interact
interact with
with
them.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the angel wings, my guess has to do with his attack because we learned like once he's human that he has more power in the UG than a player should.
Mm-hmm.
And so he shoots light beams, and some of his light beams, like angels, come out. And so I think that's just a reference to his light beam attack.
Yeah. I mean, also it could just be that maybe they just wanted to portray him as like the opposite to the Reapers, but I mean,
But there
because they
was no
do
Reapers in
mention,
Dream Drop.
don't they mention it though, like that there is like Reapers or something?
They mentioned there's a Reaper's game, and they confuse a black coat for a Reaper.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they don't really.
Like they don't. I know they don't like actually run into
Yeah,
one, but I did think that they mentioned it at least.
yeah, they do mention it. Yeah, I guess they're really just trying to show that he's not a Reaper. It's just weird. I don't like how they portray him in Dream Drop.
Yeah, like yeah, no, I like after seeing like actually how Joshua's character kind of is, I agree. Just he's weird in Dream Drop Distance. I mean, even not knowing his character, he was weird in Dream Drop Distance.
Yeah, he doesn't fit in, and it's hard to make him fit in, especially when you're trying to tell a week one story.
Yeah.
Um, that said, Dream Drop Distance was also just a weird game.
That is very true. Anyways,
Back to the actual
so
episode at hand.
yeah, and so they get into the Minamimoto fight, for which it goes very well until they get beaten through the floor.
Yeah, so how the fight works is there's a bunch of shards of like the buildings, and like there's low gravity, so they can jump between the shards and like be thrown around.
Or be fighting in air.
Yeah, think like kind of like the Titan battle in Infinity War. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, kind of like that, I guess, is a good illusion at least.
Yeah. Also, I just had a thought about the memory thing you were talking about, where like some of the shards of the building had like memories of Shiki on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the imaginary number plane. It's Neku's imagination.
Yeah. Uh huh. No, I figured it was more just because it has a link to Neku. I figured.
Yeah. Any real comments on the fight?
I mean, until like the final attack, not much really.
I thought it was overall decent. I don't think it was the best fight in the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, all the fights are just so short, you know? Except for that one in episode 2, which was unnecessarily long for some reason.
I'm trying to remember which one you're talking about.
The one where they put the music in oddly towards the end of it for only like 30 seconds. Well, not even, like 15 seconds, and yet they still play it after the battle's over.
Yeah, okay, I remember that one. Yeah,
that one was pretty bad from a storyboarding position.
Yeah. This fight was a lot cooler on the outside than it was in the game. It's not my favorite fight in the game either. In fact, I'm not a fan of any of the Game Master fights, to be honest. I think my favorite Game Master fight is the first Game Master.
Yeah, that one seems like very atmospheric and well done, at least from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, like that one was true to the game. This one changed up the game quite a bit. In the game,
I do find like the environment interesting, but the fight itself was meh.
Yeah, they could have done more based off like the gravity stuff.
Yeah,
but like in the game, you're just fighting on the roof, and Minamimoto can go back and forth from his human form to his lion form, and he just summons taboo noise. You fight them, he'll show up. You hit him, he'll summon more taboo noise, and you just kind of go back and forth like that. And I think there's supposed to be a gimmick to that fight, and I've never actually figured out the gimmick. He's kind of fast, and that's kind of it. It's like, okay.
Speedy boss. That's the gimmick.
Yeah, no, I think this is supposed to be a gimmick of like how you get him to come out and fight, because there are times when he just won't come out and fight. I'm like, I don't know how you do it.
No, I'm just more like, yes, my favorite gimmick of a boss, speed.
Yeah. No, that's the thing is like you'll be like attacking or dodging, doing whatever, and then he'll just be like Zeta slow, and he'll appear next to you and kick you.
I see.
Like faster than you can react. It's like, okay.
I guess that fits in with this thing of like defeating you within at the speed of light. Yeah. But we finally get to see that level 3 attack with Joshua that you mentioned a few weeks back.
So for those of you that didn't see that earlier episode, first off, what are you doing here? There's a playlist at the end of this episode. Go back and listen to our previous episodes. But I messed up when the first time we see Josh's fusion, and I said that was the level 3 fusion. I was wrong. It was the level 2 fusion. Now we see the level 3, which is a giant comet raining down on everything.
Yeah. And I think it actually kind of like the way they actually like phrase it before they like start charging up that attack is like Neku is like, this definitely feels different from like the other ones that they've done. So like,
yeah, I've never felt that much power before coming from him before.
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do maybe just in part with Neku fully trusting Joshua that allowed them to do the level 3 finally.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I think that's part of it, and also I think did they use a fusion during the bear fight? I don't remember.
No, they did not.
So this is also the first fusion attack since Josh is going full power.
Yeah.
But I think I like your explanation more, especially because in the game, how that fusion attack is explained is you have to sync up, you have to trust your partner. If you don't trust your partner, this won't work.
Mm-hmm.
So I like your explanation more, but I think I don't know if the show writers were that smart.
Maybe. I mean, it's hard to tell, but I don't know. I like my interpretation, so we'll stick with
Yeah, I like yours better too. um, and then we get Minamimoto defeated, back in his human form, and a little conversation. And
how
I
he's
only
like basically reverse calculated this entire thing.
yeah. So in the game, they do something kind of funny because again, he's called Pie Face, and his whole thing is about numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So the line where he says like the whole world is made up of numbers in the game, right before that line, uh, they spend about 4 or 5 text boxes going through
Just reciting the
all the
numbers
numbers of
of
pi.
pi.
Yes, he probably does like probably over 100, probably like 150 characters of after 3.14.
Hmm.
Um, no pi,
Yeah.
and then he also announces his final desperation move. Um,
Yeah. That big like explosion. I, I think. Yeah.
take your guess on what he would call that final desperation move.
I don't know. What did he call it?
The level I flare.
Really?
I,
No, I get it. I get it.
imaginary number,
I know. I got
square
it.
root of -1.
Yeah.
I, I
I
liked
got
it.
it when you said it originally. I'm like, oh,
For those of you who don't know what I is, it's an imaginary number, uh, which is the square root of -1. And it has been years since I'm taking a math class, and I forget why it was exactly called imaginary. Because you can't really take the square root of -1, but I don't know.
it's just basically, I believe, if I remember correctly, imaginary numbers are supposed to define every number that are just not able to be like either calculated or read. I believe was the
Yeah,
explanation.
yeah, you can't calculate square root of -1, and so you just write I
Mm-hmm.
for the square root of -1. And that becomes important in math for some reason, even though you can't calculate it. I don't know. And then we get Josh
Sacrificing
making.
himself.
So this might be another thing that's lost in translation, but how did you interpret what he said at the end?
Oh, I'm forgetting what was it like that he exactly said, but was it just something along the lines of like that he has to like survive in order to win the game?
Yeah. So Josh says in the show, you can't afford to lose, right, Neku? You'll you'll survive and you'll make your wish come true. Uh, in the game, when he pushes Neku back, he says, "But Neku, I thought you couldn't afford to lose. Give up on yourself. You give up on the world too."
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think, and part of it is that it's in Japanese, so I don't really know how he said that line. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like there's a kind of different connotation between the two lines, even though they're kind of saying the same thing. Because in the game, I don't know if he said it in the show. Neku said the line earlier. I thought like I can't afford to lose, and so Josh is kind of throwing it back in his face, like because Neku is freaking out when the attack comes because they have like a split second, and Neku's like, "Oh no, this is it. This is how I lose."
Mm-hmm.
And Josh throws him back and says, "But Neku, I thought you couldn't afford to." And here, Josh really does sound like he's making the true sacrifice play.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what he means by wish come true besides getting Shiki back. I kind of like the give up on yourself, you give up on the world.
Yeah, but maybe it's more just because Joshua does actually believe in Neku deep down. But
Deep
I
down,
don't know.
somewhere in that cold, dead heart of his.
Yes.
um,
Um,
so
so then we get to he
the
goes
White
to the
Room,
White Room again.
which again in the game is Neku's thrown out the building, but Neku, I thought you couldn't afford to lose. Give up on yourself. Give up on the world. Immediate cut to da 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 da, and Neku waking up in Scramble Crossing. Just like he did day one of week one, just like he did week two of day two. We just get an immediate cut to him waking up. And we get a flashback of White Room later on day one of week three.
Yeah, I think it's just better to put it before the weeks.
I just like how the game did it. I like the cliffhanger.
Yeah, but I think the cliffhanger was better, like than just he's just immediately in week three. But you see, this time we don't fully know all that was done in the White Room, so
That is true. Yeah. There's a week three.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this. Did you know?
I didn't know. I had like suspicions only just because of the pacing of the anime, but I could have just also logically, like you know me, I was logically coming up with any other explanations on how they were going to go with these episodes going forward.
I cannot believe I covered for that. So little behind the scenes baseball. But after last recording, we were talking briefly about the show and how it's like Josh was talking about how like I don't like predicting things because it's a JRPG. It's gonna get weird. I know it's gonna get weird. And I almost said like, "Oh, you think it's weird now? Just wait till week three." I caught myself like mid sentence, like I can't say that.
Yeah, it's like I just you play enough JRPGs, you know when like the next big twist is gonna come because there's usually like about two, like 1 to 2 per JRPG.
Oh yeah, I cannot believe I kept. I can't believe I kept week two a secret. I have no clue I kept week three a secret. Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Um, I'll take that as a success. So, for anyone that goes back and watches, and it seems like I'm dancing around the topic, or I am saying something that, as a fan of the game, sounds blatantly wrong. I was trying to keep it a secret. It worked. um, I'm not a scrub. I did know these things were coming.
Yeah, but so basically what happens in the White Room, Shades just quickly says, yeah, since Josh was illegal, that stuff is on you. You're going into this will be your last game. You won't be able to participate in any in the future, and week three start.
Yeah. Um,
with ominous purple sky.
Yeah, I noticed the two actually. I wrote a note. Dark skies. Yeah, the White Room conversation. They tightened it up, but it's practically the same.
Well, and I assume because part of it we don't know.
Yeah. Well, so when he talks about the Josh thing, he actually threatens erasing Neku, but he says in the game, I like how he puts it a little bit more. Sorry.
You good?
He is about to erase Neku, but he's like, but we Reapers, we repay our debts. And since you helped us out with destroying the rebel, Minamimoto, I'll let you play another game with a penalty.
Mm-hmm. Which we don't know what that is either. I don't think. Do we?
We do not. In the game, you would already know, because you play a little bit into day one. It will become apparent quickly. I'll just say that what the penalty is. We're not waiting long on that one.
Yeah, I assume we'll get it pretty early into episode 8.
Well, actually, no, we do know what the penalty is. The penalty is there is no future game.
Oh, okay. That's the penalty. Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking about entry fee. Sorry.
Yeah. Entry fee. Yeah, we still don't know what his entry fee was this time.
Yeah. So Shiki. So in the game, they make it much more express and clear. Shiki entry fee is being carried over because this whole game, week 2, is null and void. So Shiki's carrying over plus another entry fee for this game.
I see.
Yeah. I don't know if the anime made it that clear, but that's the case. Shiki's not safe yet, but also one more.
I assume they may cover that in episode 8 as well, but
yeah,
because like they definitely cut that white room scene in half basically.
Oh yeah, he's right about to say what the entry fee is, and then doesn't.
Which he'll probably talk about the second entry fee carrying over there as well.
Dude, I can't wait for week 4.
Yeah, like they'll have time for that.
I mean, they could at this pace. If this 12 episodes.
No, it takes about like 4 episodes for a week.
There's 3 episodes for the first week, but even then, there'd be 1 episode short. They'd have to really condense that.
Yeah. Like I said, probably not.
Yeah. Or maybe there is 4 weeks.
Or maybe they just do New Day in 1 episode.
That could be too. I guess that's actually a question that I still have. Do we think we're going to get a New Day? Still.
I mean, it depends if they like go aim for exactly 4 episodes for week 3, because that would cover episodes 8, 9, 10, and 11, leaving episode 12 to be just its own thing. So
yeah.
If they end up doing 5, then no.
Yeah. Which I could definitely see it taking 5, because I mean, so in the game,
it's the final week.
Yeah, in the game, how they count it is week 1 and 2. They say the first day, the second day, the third day. This third week, they say you have 7 days left. You have 6 days left, 5 days left. So they count down on the last week, but this show's been counting down the whole time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's more of like, I mean, they just do that just because it like keeps track of like what day it is. I mean, they still say it's like day this, day that, you know?
Yeah, but like, because in the game, each day is kind of like a chapter. So at the beginning of it, you get a splash screen saying day 6. And then at the end of the chapter, you get the same splash screen, but then it gives you the chapter name.
But I do think like it's meant to be taken like seriously this time. Like there is only 7 days left.
Yeah.
Probably also why they have the ominous sky.
Yeah, and so just knowing what the finale of this game is, that day will probably be 2 episodes.
Yeah, I imagine. I'm like, since it's the final week, I imagine the final boss probably will take a while.
Yeah. That said, if they do it in 4 episodes, which I guess if they give the finale like the 1 episode treatment, like they gave Josh on day 5, like that could work.
Yeah, it could work. It's just they have to speed through everything else. Not like they haven't been already, but I mean,
actually, I would say I would have to replay it because I haven't replayed week 3 yet. In fact, I didn't fully replay through day 1. I only played through day 1 up until the white room scene. Assuming everything, I would say this week's actually a little bit easier to speed through, if I remember correctly.
Well, if you say so.
Because week 2, every day kind of has 2 plots to it. Like you have like A plot, B plot, and the B plot can be longer than the A plot, but the A plot's the focus. Week 3 is actually a little bit more straightforward of like, we have a focus and we're just doing that focus.
I see.
So, any theories on who you think the partner is going to be?
Well, I am between 2 choices currently.
What are they?
I'm either thinking Hanekoma or Beat.
Hanekoma or Beat? Reasons for both.
Hanekoma just because he's the only other ally that's left, that at least, and then also Beat just because something seems off with him, and I don't think he's gonna stay on the Reaper side for long.
Okay. You already said you don't think we've met the composer yet, so
Yes.
I can't ask about composer again.
Yeah.
Um,
Otherwise, other than that, we'll see by next episode whether I'm right or not.
yeah, I'm trying to think of like any more questions that I can think of like. And what do you think this week 3 is really going to be? So the next episode's even called Emergency Call. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, which like definitely leads me to think it's either one of those two because both are pretty risky choices to get as a partner, you know?
Honeycomb is risky?
Like in a way that like he's been like just kind of I wouldn't like he's been like behind the scenes most of the time, so him being like put into the spotlight would be something like kind of an emergency call, you know?
Okay. So you think Neku is the one making this emergency call?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think the entry fee is?
I'm really like they already took his memories. They already took the thing dearest to him, like, or at least closest to him.
So they're taking the second thing closest to him now, while keeping Shiki.
I don't think that would be the case. That just seems too samey. I doubt they do the same thing twice.
What do you mean?
Like, just that the entry fee would be so similar. I'm thinking like it's 3 different types of entry fees that challenge Neku in different ways.
So this is his last week. What challenge?
I guess maybe the other option is that he's on his own.
Okay.
I don't think it's plausible, just considering the rules that have been set up so far, but potentially if like they put like a special rule for it, but I doubt it.
Okay. So you don't think you have any other ideas then?
Other than that, no, that's about it.
Wow, you're terrible at theorizing.
Well, it's not that. It's just more of like theorizing what they could take from him could be like so like broad, and just because I feel like they wouldn't want to make it samey, that's why I put that. Just because like I just don't think they take another person away from him because like that's not going to change anything.
I was going to make a joke, and then I realized that joke only makes sense if you played the game. I was going to say they were going to take his zippers away. In the game, Shiki and him have a conversation at the 10-4 building where they say like, "Oh, what you wear is a statement," and like, you know, fashion can tell, like, send people a message. And Neku internally is just like, if my clothes can give you a message, I want to wear more zippers. That way I can tell you to zip it.
Oh my.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything. Just general flow of next week. What do you think the general flow is? I already kind of explained it's a little more focused than week 2.
I mean, I figured that the missions then may be just pretty straightforward, kind of like week 1, where it's just like defeat this boss enemy in set amount of time.
Getting back to the regular mission schedule instead of
whatever Minamimoto was doing. Okay, just not even giving missions.
him just screwing around until day 6.
Yep.
And then not giving out a mission day 7.
Yep.
He gave out what, 3 missions?
Yep.
So below 50%.
Yeah, I'm like the man didn't even make half.
That's really funny.
I mean, technically, it was close. If he just did like a mission for one more day, he would have been over half. But it's not possible to only give 3.5 days of missions.
Well, okay, actually, that's not true because even though he didn't send the day 7 mission, he was intending to send the day 7 mission.
Sure, but he didn't, so it doesn't count.
You say tomato, I say give that man a 50.
I say give that man a what's a 3 out of 7 percentage?
Math.
I give him a 0.42857,143%. Because he cares about the numbers, Eric.
He cares about the numbers. Neo Replicant version 1.2244. Oh, dang it! I had it. It's version 1.224417. No, man, I had it. I used to have it memorized like a week ago, and I've already forgotten it. That's annoying. Yeah, it's 47. It's 1.22474487139. I hate that.
Yeah.
I had it like a week ago. I thought I had it memorized. I was trying to show about. Speaking of which, update on Neo Replicant. I have fully upgraded all weapons, and I got ending B in under 100 hours. Exactly 99 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. I am not joking. I will put a picture of that in the video, of my save file in the video.
Yeah, that was clearly something.
I don't know how I got it that precise. I was not aiming for that.
I don't either. I really don't.
My save file literally reads 99, 59, 59. I'm like, I don't know if it maxed out. I guess it could have maxed out.
It could have, potentially.
Either that or I just got extremely
It's not like Kingdom
lucky.
Hearts, the original one, where you can play through 99 hours, but still get a trophy saying that you completed it in under 10 hours by letting the clock go back to under, because it restarts after it hits the cap.
I was going to say, like, the fact that you can still get a trophy, because it's not using the system timer, it's using the in-game timer.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny to me.
Yeah, I'm like, I found that out from a friend, and I'm like, that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh, I think I was that friend.
No, you weren't.
Yeah, I wasn't. I got it from a YouTube video. Oh man, that's so funny. I guess that's kind of all the questions I have for you.
Yeah, I think that's about it. So join us next week for the start of week 3. If you haven't checked out our other videos, please go back and check them out. And thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.